Alright, welcome to Marvel Monday, and we are now taking a look at Blade 2. And I said this the first time I watched it. Said it now. I don't get it. I don't get how people say that Blade Trinity is the worst in this trilogy. I really don't, because I've never liked this one. I don't get the concept, really. It's a new breed of vampires that can't be killed by any, vampire weakness except sunlight. And you can still chop its head off. So how is it a better breed of vampire? Other than it looks creepier and it has the jaws, I just don't get it. I just don't get it, and I don't understand this movie. The first scene starts with Blade saving, I almost said Whistler, because apparently, and they even say this line in the movie, he shot himself, then he turned. That's not how it works. He shot himself. He's dead. He cannot then turn into a vampire after he shot and killed himself. It just makes no sense. My thought process on this is that in the original, people got pissed because they killed him off, so they said, okay, let's bring him back. But they didn't think about how to bring him back. I know we don't see him shoot himself. We hear the gun go off. It just doesn't make any sense. I know the original plan, I'm pretty sure that the gunshot was added in last minute. Because the original plan was at the end of the last film, the guy that he confronts in Russia is supposed to be Whistler. So I'm guessing they just took that and added it to this. But he's in a containment tube. And he has a little cure. The stuff that Blade takes, I think. And it just cured him. Because he hasn't turned. But they said he turned. It doesn't make any sense. And then they introduced this blood. The blood pack. Other than having Ron Perlman and Donnie Yen, who are fantastic, I just don't get it. Why? Apparently Ron Perlman has a thing against Blade, and one of the other ones has a thing against Whistler, but do we ever actually find out what they have against them? I just don't know. I think not being able to use Morbius really messed up what they had planned going forward. They were forced to change the ending, and they changed it twice, so they took Whistler out. So now they decided, let's add, and it's David S. Goyer. He's hit and miss anyway, but added a new strain of vampire that can't be killed by any weaknesses, but can still be killed by any weaknesses because you can still cut their heads off. And you stab them through the heart. And sunlight still kills them, so I just don't get it. You have villains that are uneventful in Damaskatinos. I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's like a sub-villain, and then this other guy that they dissect and for all intents and purposes is supposed to be dead, somehow still alive, is the main villain, but it just doesn't work for me. And at that, the CGI is worse than the first film. And that's from the first film when the blood thing came out like that. The CGI fight scenes, they're just terrible. It's like you're playing a PS1 game of Blade. And the PS2 was already out. It's just, no. I've never liked this film, and it baffles me all the time. People say, oh, Blade Trinity sucked. Blade 1 and 2 was better. How is this better than Blade Trinity? How? Look, nothing against Guillermo del Toro. The first Hellboy I thought was fantastic. The second one, a little too much. I've never seen anything else that he's done. This didn't sell me on it. I've never liked this film. And it still blows my mind that people say this is better than Blade Trinity. Blade Trinity has its problems, But overall, it's more enjoyable than this thing. It's dark. There's not really that much. There's some humor, but it doesn't always hit. There is the one thing when Blade catches the shades and puts them on. That's badass. You know. But it's just... Because I was like, okay, so... Like I said, I grew up watching Blade Trinity. I was the only one. So I bought this trilogy so I could watch them. I watched the first one. I really enjoyed it. I watched this one and I'm like... Trinity's the worst, huh? You're saying Trinity's worse than this. And I put Trinity in, and I really enjoyed it. There's a lot more to enjoy with Trinity, and I don't get the hate. Right? Yes, my review of Trinity next week is going to be a positive one, because I love that movie. This is not, and will never, ever be better than Trinity. It's not better than the first one. It's not a terrible movie. It's very well made. But the plot makes no sense. Character decisions sometimes make no sense. Like, the plot... Well, not character decisions, but like... I just feel like there's no character development. And the plot makes no sense. Like, we have to say Whistler, but he's dead. But he's not dead, but he's back. And he gets captured again, but he's let go. And then there's these... unkillable vampires. They can't be killed by anything. No vampires can die except for sunlight and cutting off their head. That's not what you said. And then there's these ugly ass vampires. One last thing, and give me a new chain, and there's what? And Blade's gonna work with these guys, even though he knows and admits later, he knows and willingly admits, he knows they're going to fuck him in the end. Not like that, though. He still works with them. He knows he cannot trust them, and he still works with them. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. For all the reasons, for all the complaints to get about the, what do you call them, in the third one, you know, Hannibal and Abigail's team, about how, they didn't, you know, why'd they even have them in there if they didn't do anything? What was the point of this new, you know, vampire team if they're just gonna screw them over in the end? I really think that not having Morbius, or by even, you know, forcing Blade's mom into the first film, really, you know, really put them in a you know, really blocked them off from an actual story. Had they saved his mom for this film, or like I said, even found a way to put Morbius into this, or something better than this. Now, they probably would have done better. This is not Friar-worthy. I think it's enjoyable to a certain degree. You go in, turn your brain off. Some of the action stuff is pretty cool. There's some fight scenes that are good until they're ruined with the CGI. Wesley Snipes is still very much on point. Chris Christopherson is arguably better in here than he was in the first one. Ron Perlman is Ron Perlman, so he's always going to be awesome. But Donnie Yen does butt-fuck anything in this, and he's a martial arts guy. He does nothing. You have Matt Schultz, one of the most enjoyable parts of the Fast and the Furious, and he does nothing. You introduce new characters that do nothing, be cannon fodder for Blade and the others to kill later on. You have Norman Reedus, and he's does nothing other than smoke weed and watch the Powerpuff Girls and then get turned into a vampire and die. That's it. You waste actors in a movie you could have just had bit parts. You had these actors. Well, Norman Reedus wasn't really a thing yet at this point, but come on. Donnie Yen, he was good in China or wherever he's from, Japan. You know, I just think that this whole film is a wasted opportunity. They could have done better. Especially after how kick-ass the first one was. Yes, I'm willing to admit that the first Blade is better than Trinity, but this one is not. Alright? For all the problems that Trinity has, at least it's more enjoyable than this. Yes, there are wasted characters in that film, but what happens when those characters die, it affects other characters and pushes the plot forward. This one does nothing. Because they're bad guys that no one cares about. Every time someone says Blade Trinity is the worst one, I say, you need to watch Blade 2 again, because that is a bad movie. Not terrible, not a piece of shit, and not Fryer-worthy, but it's still not good. I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. Somewhere in the middle, alright? So there it is. Somewhere in the middle, needs improvement. Number 5 out of 10. There you have it. I just don't get the love for this movie. They say, oh, it's even better than the first one. How? If you have points, if you have anything that's better than this and better than the first film and Trinity, please tell me in the comments, because I just don't get it. Let me know what your thoughts are on this film. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.